Thomas! It's up for grabs now!
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira!
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it! Well,
Fabulous solo goal by Thierry Henry.
champions.
Good evening and welcome to the Arsenal Lounge, another Monday special with our favourite resident guests. Shaheen's not with us today, but I'm sure we can crack on without him. So without further ado, let's just go to it. Tom from Gooner Talk TV as usual. How you doing, bruv? You good?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. Yourself? How you getting on?
Hey, it's another positive one. Well, relatively positive in comparison to others, so I'm happy. Are you?
Absolutely, man. It's great to get a win as always.
Could tell you've got that Shaheen smiley look on your face today.
And
And
making up for his absence, yeah.
yeah, grumpy Tom. Today you got grumpy Tom to make up for Shaheen's absence. And below we've got the man that doesn't need any introduction at all, but still going to get one nonetheless. Moh, hi there. How you doing, bro? You good?
I am all good, man. In fact, I'm brilliant. I'm actually, for the first time in ages, really enjoying Arsenal Football Club. Really enjoying it. And I can't remember the last time I enjoyed it this much. Every player that I'm looking at on the pitch, I like them. I feel like they're playing properly. We're taking an effort. Things are going well. Fans are united. Shaheen's not here. You couldn't get any better.
You got a new camera as well, don't you? From the looks of things.
And a Christmas tree. And a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Camera. Did you say
new
new camera?
Yeah, you got a new camera?
Yeah, how can you tell?
Because it's a different angle of where you're sitting, so it's a closer image.
I
Yeah,
hope-
I don't miss these things. Like,
Yeah, you're on the ball. I hope it's better. And
that's
constantly trying
good.
to get up to the Gooner Talk TV level, basically. That's
front of the
great.
green screen in a minute.
Yeah.
Do you know what I love? The fact that Tom does a classic guy thing where he tries to impress the woman by noticing something that she's had done, like her hair or something. But we all know that Mo mentioned he had a new camera coming a couple of weeks ago. He was fiddling around with it. So Tom, that doesn't work with me, yeah? Yeah,
Oh,
I'm just saying. Yeah. Tom, is that a new camera? Oh, I noticed these things. Sure you do. Yeah. All right,
I'm the
whatever.
woman here, right? So I appreciate you, Tom.
You are. I love your tree, Mo. I love your tree. Is that new, that tree? Is that... Anyway, but look, you're right. I mean, I didn't even have to ask you. All I did was ask you how you was doing, and you went straight into the talking about the club and the game and how great you feeling and all that. So I might as well start with you, Mo, because you're obviously chomping at the bit. But you know what? It was only a couple of weeks ago. We're devastated again on the back of two bad losses. Now look at us again. We're teetering on that sort of balancing act of, we contenders, we're not. And you imagine if we had won those other two games and got those 6 points. But I mean, look, it's positive. What did you think of the game we saw the other night? I mean, I was pretty happy with it. I mean, obviously it was a depleted Leeds, but we can only beat what's in front of you,
Exactly, yeah. So I guess it's Southampton and Leeds that we've had recently since we did the last one. And they're both games. Oh, wait, was it? No, it was West Ham and Leeds, wasn't it? Not Southampton and Leeds.
Yeah, it was it was Southampton, wasn't it?
Was it Southampton? I'm getting my order mixed up.
Is it Southampton? Yeah, hold on. I'm so am I now. You're doing it to
Oh,
me,
no,
though.
okay. It becomes such a
Southampton,
blur.
West Ham. Yeah, it was Southampton, West Ham, and then Leeds. There you go.
Fair enough. So yeah, West Ham and Leeds. I felt like, pardon me, I felt like we should beat Leeds. I thought that was a given. But I thought West Ham at home, given how well they've done this season, was going to be the biggest test that we have this December. And I'm over the moon. We've come through both of them really well. And I guess, you're kind of saying 2 games or a few games ago, we were not too happy and now we're quite happy and that sort of thing. That might be a bit of a farcical way of being for a lot of people, but that is just where Arsenal find themselves right now. That is the reality. We're at that part of Mikel Arteta's career where he's built up a little bit of expectation and we feel like, okay, we probably can't, I feel like we definitely think we should be better than what we were last season. And because of the nature of the competition in the Premier League, we can very quickly fall back to that level, which is unacceptable if we have a few bad performances. And again, because of the way the Premier League is this season, we can very quickly find ourselves in 4th spot if we just get our act together a little bit. So there's so much riding on just being slightly better than the rest of the pack around us. So I think a lot of the clubs around us are going to be sort of going from very happy to very sad very quickly these days.
I mean, Tom, like as Mo rightly said, I mean, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride at the moment. We haven't caught up since the performance against Leeds. It was one we expected to win against a depleted Leeds team. However, what did impress me was there was obvious patterns of play there and things we'd clearly worked on the training ground, including the likes of Martinelli running into the space that Lacazette sort of vacates when he comes in to take the ball deep, for example. There was some patterns of play there. But I mean, what did you think of the performance? And touching on what Mo was saying with the fact that it's so sort of teetering on the edge of happiness and sadness, this is another question I'll throw in with it. At this stage, is it points gained in the bag more valuable than games in hand? Or, is it something that you could say, the chasing pack, they got the games in hand? You would normally think that, but right now, with the fixture congestion, anything can happen.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, the unknown about who is going to be available for your team right now is also there. So someone asked me this question, would I rather be where we are now in fourth or be, say, Spurs and have those 3 games and have the ability to, say, be 3 points ahead of us? And I said I'd rather be us because I like having and knowing kind of where I am, and the hypothetical can kind of lend yourself to be, in my case, as always, very optimistic about things, and I'd be thinking that we're going to get into that spot. But I think Spurs have showed that they are going to drop points this season. They got a very, you would say, impressive result on paper against Liverpool without contextualising everything to do with what that chaotic game was. But I think that based on how we've performed in the last 3 games, and obviously we haven't caught up since the West Ham game, but that West Ham game in particular was huge for Arsenal, not only because it was a side that put on a really good dominant home display, but when we scored, we didn't sit back. And that's the change that's come forward from Southampton, is that we scored, we didn't sit back, we pressed on. We scored against West Ham, we didn't sit back, we pressed on. And then Leeds at the weekend, we scored, we didn't sit back, we pressed on. And that what's really interesting about that is you question whether or not it was the players that were struggling with that mental block when we scored, that they wanted to sit back, and Arteta's been wanting them to kind of force themselves forward into the next attack after we score, or whether or not it was just Arteta's failure to kind of implement his plan soon enough. And I'm hoping now that we're going to see some consistency, because what we discussed, if you think all the way back to that 10-game unbeaten run that we went on, we liked the fact we were picking up points, and that 10-game unbeaten run is part of the fact that we are 4th in the table right now. But we all were, during that period, discussing the flaws in our game and the fact that we weren't really being fluid enough in attack and creating enough chances and sitting back after we scored, of course. So the contrast between the last 3 games and that 10-game unbeaten run, I think, is significant and should give us far more confidence as we go into games against Man City on New Year's Day, Spurs and Liverpool in the weeks to come.
Oh, very well said, Tom. Anyone would think you was a pro at this, but
it's almost like I do this on my job, isn't it?
I know. People say the total opposite when they see me at it. But look, I mean, Mo, what stood out for you? So what changes do you think have significantly changed the way we're performing at the moment? Is it the fact? You could argue, all right, we've harped on about Leeds' weaker side, but then we've rightly so mentioned West Ham, which was a great performance, and you can't say that West Ham haven't been a really good side this season. So what changes do you think were significant ones for us?
It's really, really tough. You look at the 10-game unbeaten run, I don't think there was anything hugely standout there. And I think regularly people this season have been saying, this was our best performance of the season, because it hasn't been very difficult to break that particular very subjective record. It's often felt like this has been the best because we haven't actually been that good. And then the difference is, for me, home versus away form. And, the last 2 games that we lost, Man United and Everton away from home, then we had a few home games and we won those. Leeds away, can you really read into that because of how depleted Leeds were, how naive they were tactically, given how depleted they were, how poor they were on the day? It's quite difficult. So I looked at this December run and I thought to myself, this is an amazing run of fixtures for us. Our toughest game against West Ham is a home game. I still feel we can get something out of the game. I thought we'd draw, actually, but I personally thought out of the 5 Premier League games in December, we'd win 4, draw 1, and that was that West Ham game. Now that we won that, Mikel Arteta all of a sudden is going to be manager of the month. He's going to play more games than anyone else. Hopefully he can win all of them. We've got Wolves and Norwich left to play. I think it's Norwich on Boxing Day and then Wolves after that.
Yeah.
Norwich away, Wolves at home, if I'm not mistaken.
So, both highly winnable games.
Highly winnable games. And all of a sudden you kind of think to yourself, when you look at our away games, and this is where the difference is that you were asking about, Lev, you look at our away games. Well, in December, our away games are Leeds United, which on paper is not easy, and then Norwich. Norwich, bottom of the league. If you want to be playing anyone away when you're not very good away from home, it's Norwich. And then Leeds. I mean, that was... I don't read into that game. There's still a lot of question marks for me about our away form because you cannot take anything from that Leeds game, in my opinion, because of how poor they were. So it really remains to be seen whether we're going to be, when we go into January and our fixture list might be a bit more challenging in terms of away from home, whether we could be frustrated again. But as it stands right now, I'm really happy, and just happy that even though, yes, we did fail massively against Everton United away from home, I feel as though, you have to do the job against let's say the 75% of teams that are slightly easier, and that is what we're doing. And if we can just be slightly more consistent, as I said before, slightly better than the rest, we could actually do something this season. So it'll be very frustrating for me if we don't.
No, but I'll be very frustrated too. It's there, seemingly it's there for the taking. It's a very topsy-turvy sort of uncertain season again. So
where are you with it, Lev? Do you feel like Arsenal are a much better team, kind of all of a sudden, or in recent weeks? Or
do you know what? I think there's better partnerships, whether or not it's better moving forward. But it's no coincidence that Partey's performance has improved since Xhaka's returned, right? For example. Because, I mean, he's still not firing on all cylinders for me, Partey, but he's just looked more solid. And we the last couple of games, we seem to control the midfield a bit better than we did. I mean, West Ham game, we controlled the midfield. We were quite dominant in that game. The Leeds game was obviously we were dominant, but I saw a consistent possession, retained possession and consistent pressure, which I liked. I like where Odegaard is fitting in now. He seems to now understand how to link up with the forwards, and there seems to be a style of play developing. So I do think we're looking better. Whether or not it will work against the better sides, consistently is still something we need to ascertain. But there seems to be some sort of gelling, consistent pattern now. Tom, you think so?
Yeah, I do. I think that what the difference between the Arteta and Emery eras has been in particular is how the players have kind of got behind the coach. We've seen dark periods under Arteta's tenure. Ever so recently against Man United Everton, we had a very low point when we were all discussing the possibility of even a new manager options, for instance. But those low points under Unai Emery, it did certainly seem like the players weren't behind him, and that was probably the biggest reason as to why obviously he was let go by the club, whereas why the club has stuck by Arteta during some of those darkest moments is because those players are behind him and they seem like they do want to buy into what he's trying to develop and improve. It was interesting. I can't give credit to the person who asked Arteta the question after the Leeds game, but it's something I hope that more journalists do after games, is actually ask the manager rather than trying to find the headline and trying to find that cutting edge story. Actually ask him about the tactics that he's deploying and about whether he's seeing an improvement in his game. And he spoke about how it's taken time, but the players are genuinely starting to see that progress of the style that he wants to see, the quality of attacks, the quality of the chance creation that we're seeing. I mean, Ødegaard in particular, I know Shaheen's not really here to defend himself regarding Ødegaard, but...
Some are suggesting that's why he's not here, because he's been negative recently. That's not it.
Maybe. But Ødegaard's been fantastic. I mean, that's, 4 goal contributions in 4 games.
Lovely pass through to Emile Smith-Rowe. The way he dinked it to give it more time so he could run through was nice.
The technique on that is unreal. Go on, man.
But I actually feel like Ødegaard, got kind of 3 goals in 3 games, and he was playing really quite well. Against Leeds, I was actually a little bit disappointed. I wanted him to take the game by the scruff of the neck a little bit more, but he just showed his quality for me with that assist. That was gorgeous. And that was with me watching him thinking, there's so much more in your locker. You can do so much more than what you're doing today. So when players aren't even at their best and they're still producing bits of quality like that, and still not playing badly. I'm not suggesting they play badly. Yeah, I mean, it's working. It's clicking for Arsenal right now.
Interesting battle developing between Emil Smith-Rowe and Odegaard long term as well. I mean, who's going to be playing in that position long term, and does it force the likes of Smith-Rowe out wide? I mean, it's going to be either the lad's coming off the bench and he's still scoring. He's got 7 now, Emil Smith-Rowe, hasn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's our top scorer, same as Ronaldo in the league, actually.
Yeah, same number of goals and assists as Ronaldo.
And he hasn't had any penalties to take either. So
yeah, true.
And the interesting thing is we're starting to contribute goals from all around the team rather than just hoping that Aubameyang scores. You know, we're starting to get some late runners coming in the box. So that's the positives. But then, obviously, I mean, we can't just have this discussion because we haven't really caught up since the Aubameyang saga's been going on. So I mean, look, is this another case of maybe Arteta being a little bit lucky? He didn't give Emil Smith-Rowe a proper run until he was kind of forced with the poor performances from Willian and a few others. He was forced to give Emil Smith-Rowe his opportunity. Now further down the line, Aubameyang's doing what he's doing. He's not been scoring. Now we've got the disciplinaries going on. Since you and us have spoken, he's been stripped of his captaincy. No one's really confirmed exactly what's going on with him, but what do you see happening with this moving forward then, gents? Because we've got January looming. I have to ask this question because do you see us pushing Aubameyang out in January? And if so, do we have a contingency? What is going on?
Yeah, just briefly, I do disagree slightly on the forcing thing. Like with the Smith-Rowe one in particular, kind of bugs me at times because
so I'm bugging you, am I, Tom? Am I bugging
always,
you now?
Mate, every day. But it was kind of the ability of Arteta to play Joe Willock at the number 10 during the last season, kind of that period up till Christmas. He used Joe Willock as a 10 on a number of occasions. And he could have used Joe Willock again in that game against Chelsea, and he didn't. He put Smith-Rowe in. He also put Martinelli in that game as well, to our great benefit. And I've seen some fans try to justify Martinelli's inclusion recently as it also being forced, when again, the option to use Nicolas Pepe instead was there. When Saka got injured against Newcastle, as a right winger, you know, everyone's thinking in that moment Pepe's coming on because Martinelli doesn't play on the right. That's not where he's played at Arsenal. But he didn't. He brought on Martinelli and put him on the right-hand side. He scored, and then he's followed that through by maintaining Martinelli in the Arsenal team, but by keeping him on the left because Saka can't be dropped. But he's then dropped Smith-Rowe at times, who of course did suffer with a minor injury, of course, but he's then kept Smith-Rowe out of the team. He's not been forced to bring him back in like some other loyal players that you might do in the past. So I think to turn around and say that Martinelli is he stumbled upon him or it's forced, I do find that a little bit kind of leaning towards, if you're not a big fan of Arteta, you're probably going to lean towards using that as kind of a stick or to beat him with or try and undermine the position of the coach, because I do think that he should be credited for bringing Martinelli into the team in that game against Newcastle over Pepe in an unnatural right-wing position and benefit from it and then move forward to where we are now. So I did just want to kind of touch on that first.
That's what you call touching on it, yeah? I forgot why I even asked you, Tom, to be honest with you.
just that little, there you go.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, and the Aubameyang thing, listen, we'll touch on Martinelli in a minute because I'm immensely impressed with him. I think he could change our entire season. But the Aubameyang saga, have you heard anything else other than what we've been told? Because to me, I'm looking at those interviews from Arteta in the last couple of games, the post-match interviews. He looks like he's fuming. He absolutely looks like he's fuming. He looks like, you know, when you thought you had a mate, that I thought you was my mate. It was like that. He feels really betrayed by him. So have you heard anything different to what we've been told, other than the fact that, you know, he's been turning up late?
I think it was, I don't want to give the guy credit. It's not Sam Dean. Matt Law, I think it was, that wrote for the Telegraph. He reported that Aubameyang will be out of things until after the African Cup of Nations.
Yeah, end of February, he said, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I read that too. Yeah,
he's training on his own. And,
is that a bit of clickbait, Tom, knowing that AFCON is around the corner just to rile us Arsenal fans up?
Well, I mean, it included information that he's training on his own until then, which I hadn't seen anywhere else. So there was some new info in that piece,
and he started turning up early. Funnily enough, all of a sudden.
Well, no. On that, you know, the whole turning up early thing, it might be that that's why he's turning up early. So people are taking that to mean that, oh, he's doing a double session or being a teacher's pet. It might not be the case. It might just be told you're training by yourself, you come in earlier, or it might be because he wasn't able to follow COVID protocols that they don't want him around the rest. There's got to be numerous reasons for it, but obviously externally we're always trying to put 2 and 2 together. Sometimes we might get 5.
Do you think it's too harsh of a punishment, what he's getting?
All depends on his reaction, Tom.
Yeah.
And
we don't know that, do we?
Yeah, these are the bits that we don't know and we can't fill in. Because even like right from the start, he missed a flight. The reason why someone misses a flight is of huge importance. If you had a car accident, it's fair enough. If you're at a casino, then no. And also, whatever the reason was, did you inform your manager at the earliest opportunity? If you didn't bother, obviously that's problematic. If you had a car accident and at the first opportunity you did message him, say, look, I've been in an accident, I've missed my flight, this is what time I'm going to get in, that all of a sudden sounds quite reasonable. So we can only assume that Mikel Arteta's not being overbearing control freak, and that actually Aubameyang did let him down. He didn't have a good reason, or he didn't inform him. And then you turn around and say, if we are going to trust our manager on that he has been fair to him and tried to find out, was there a reasonable excuse? If there wasn't, then it's not the first time Aubameyang has done it. So then you might argue that, okay, look, it is fair enough. And especially if the reaction from Aubameyang hasn't been appropriate. If I was Aubameyang, what I would do, or if I was Aubameyang's advisor, what I would have done is put a statement out and said, I'm sorry to let my team down. I'm sorry to put my manager in this position, and I will work as hard as I can to get back in the team and start contributing to the team to ensure their success. But we haven't heard from Aubameyang. So maybe Oba is not in a positive place right now in terms of how he's responding to this. And on that basis, you don't want a negative energy around the team. Victory comes through harmony after all, right? So all of these unknowns dictate whether the right decisions have been taken.
You just don't know, Mo, because like someone sent me a video earlier on into my WhatsApp group, and it was like, oh, look, your captain or your ex-captain doesn't look very sad that he's been stripped of his captaincy. And it was footage of him, I think it was off someone's TikTok or their Insta. The guy that wraps all the cars for them, you know, the famous guy that wraps all their cars. Yeah. And he's put out a little video, and it's Aubameyang. He's just had his car wrapped, and Aubameyang's dancing. And I looked at it instantly. I was fuming, and I was about to tweet it out. And then I just thought to myself, hold on a minute. When was this video posted? Where's it come from? Like, it could have been months ago. It could have been last year for all unknown. And I had to hold myself back from doing it. So we do have to be careful sometimes with what you hear and, you know, what's being sort of said out there. But something is definitely amiss. And Mo's hit the nail on the head for me in the sense of, well, he hasn't been told to come out and say anything. He hasn't been told to apologise to the fans, to apologise to the club. So what really is going on? And I don't know if we're ever going to find out, maybe until the Amazon documentary comes out. But for me, it seems like there's more to it than just he's turned up late, surely. Yeah,
the question that I always ask is, do we all think that Mikel Arteta has gone public 100% of the time when Aubameyang has had poor discipline? I don't think that every single opportunity Arteta has gone public. I think he would have shielded him on some occasions and stuff, and obviously he's got to the end of his tolerance level. And, you know, the thing is, football is very, very results driven. So Arteta has won all games since he took this decision. And then it's quite hard to say that it's the wrong decision. I would have taken the same decision in a different manner. I would have kept it public, but still dropped him and disciplined him. But ultimately, the team has not suffered. So, you know, Arteta, perhaps he's just called it right.
Do we see him come back, or is this the end for it?
I don't think so. I don't think we'll see him again. I really think that he'll. I think
brings back Koscielny quick. What's his name?
Xhaka.
No, Kolasinac. He brings him back when we think he's already gone.
The thing. Well, it's obviously different. We didn't see any kind of issues behind the scenes that we were aware of with Kolasinac. I think the issues he suffered were with Schalke, it seems, and their previous manager that was sacked prior to his loan ending. But no, I'd be surprised if Aubameyang comes back in. I think that Arteta will look at the situation. I think they're looking, obviously, bringing in a striker in 2022, be that it will most likely be the summer rather than January, but it could be accelerated based upon what happens with Aubameyang. There's these consistent links with maybe Barcelona, and now Juventus came up this morning as well. So we'll see. But I just don't see what he brings to the team that, you know, that we haven't got already right now. I know that we've been very praising Aubameyang's finishing ability in that, but the way that which Arteta wants this team to play, Lacazette's having to put in a ridiculous amount of work and, you know, time and commitment to that role that Aubameyang doesn't do. And that's not his fault. We never can expect that of Aubameyang, because that's not the striker that he is. And it's not a criticism that he's not doing what Lacazette is doing, because it's not his way of playing. But to play the way that Arteta wants, you need to be doing what Lacazette's doing. And that's not really in Alba's forte. So I think he'll stay out.
See, there's some interesting takes in the chat group I'll look at. And if you lot ever see anything throughout, if you see anything throughout the show you want me to bring up, please let me know. But like, you know, this is how it sort of splits people. Vuk Valcic sounds like a player that Arsenal would be going in for. Maybe it was also an opportunity to motivate Uber to find another club, he feels, right? I mean, some people feeling like, you know, we're trying to get rid of him. Johnny Boy saying, how can a striker focus when his confidence is being shafted publicly? I mean, do you guys agree with that? I mean, like, is it Arteta's fault that he has to sort of shaft him publicly, or is it down to Aubameyang to sort of get in on time? I think
Arteta have shafted him publicly.
Well, he did it once with the Spurs, with the derby when he turned up late as well, didn't he?
And quite, I mean, I have no issue if our club captain can't turn up on time to the North London derby and Arteta comes out saying that it's a disciplinary breach, that's fine. I mean, that's the minimum, I'd say. So I'd be fuming.
For me, though, I prefer to keep these things in-house, but, you know, up to a point. If it's the 10th time someone has done something and the manager's protecting, I'd be saying to the manager, you're an idiot. And again, this is the unknown. This is the bit that's hidden from us. How much has Arteta protected Oba? And if Aubameyang has only ever done these two things, and on both occasions Arteta's publicly shafted him, then I would say, no, it's bad management. But as I said before, I personally believe that Arteta is not that clueless when it comes to man management. And I'm sure he would have given him some allowances and that sort of thing. Clearly, he gave him the allowance to go in the first place, right? Which obviously showed some element of man management. So about the focus when you're being publicly shafted, I feel like I get the point there, but it's still up to you how you react. I want a motivated Aubameyang to come back and say, I'm going to make you look stupid for ever dropping me, and you know, come in and score all the goals again. But I don't know if Aubameyang's that sort of person. I think Mesut Ozil was almost challenged like that from Arteta, and Mesut Ozil didn't react in the way that I had hoped, in the sense of saying, I'm going to come back stronger. And I worry that it might be the same with Aubameyang. Whilst I feel like if you do that to a youngster, if you do that to Martinelli, perhaps what we're seeing from Martinelli, in fact, was because of the lack of opportunities, what he might have considered a lack of fair treatment from the manager, because other people are getting a run out and he's come in and he's almost playing out of his skin, like, I'll show you to ever not select me again. That's what I want to see from Aubameyang now.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see if we get that, because right now it seems like he's more interested in driving cars and getting them wrapped, according to some people. But anyway, the next thing we've got coming up, we've got the Carabao Cup, haven't we, tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Sunderland
right?
At home, yeah.
Sunderland at home, and there's been talk that we're going to be showing off some of the youngsters. Apparently, Patino might be getting his debut. Mo, you going to that game?
Yeah, I most likely will be, provided the game doesn't get called off or I don't get ill or anything like that. Then I'll be going. Balogun was training with the first team.
Oh, I'd like to see him. Be nice.
Him and Cedric. I expect both of them will play. I hope that both of them will play as well. Hopefully Pepe will play as well, because he needs to get his minutes. Smith Rowe, given that he was injured and he's only played subs as a sub in the last couple of games, perhaps, you know, gets 90 minutes in his legs as well. So it'll be quite an interesting team, actually. It'll be a good opportunity, and I'd love it if Patino, even Arsenal's Salah, who, you know, we've got a player called Salah. I think he deserves a run out. He was on the bench in the previous round, if I'm not mistaken. So, and Okonkwo is most likely going to play, I'd imagine. Ramsdale should get a
Leno's fit again now. So I
Leno
think
is fit again, is he?
Yeah, he was on the bench for the Leeds game. So yeah.
Has he been injured, has he?
I didn't notice, yeah.
He was on the bench for Leeds. I didn't even notice until someone pointed it out to me today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I missed it.
He's injured. He's broken heart since Ramsdale's taken his position. Let me just have a look at this super chat here from Cliff499. Thank you for your support, brother. None of us know all the details, he says. Need to hear from the player. If we do his words prove MA right, then he can jog on, but all we can do is speculate. Cliff, I hear what you're saying, but then again, what do you expect him to say that's going to prove Arteta right? Is he going to come out and say, yeah, man, I was late and this, that, and the other? I don't know. I just don't see it. I mean, it just seems to me he's been told to stay quiet and just take his medicine and just accept what's being done to him at the moment. So I don't know. It's a weird one. But yeah, tomorrow we've got the Carabao Cup. Anyone in particular you guys want to see? Anything? Is this something you could argue this is a trophy that we can win? It's the quarterfinals. Is this something you're following, Tom?
Yeah, Man City are out. So if the Man City Cup's up for grabs because they're out of it, then yeah, of course. Obviously, Chelsea are still in it. I think they're playing Brentford. Liverpool have got Leicester, and Spurs have got West Ham. I think of the other 3 games in the competition. So obviously, Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, Leicester, all very decent sides still in the competition. But you look at a game at home against a League One opposition, Sunderland, and that expectantly should be progression. Anything other than that is, it would be a cup embarrassment. It is what it would be. So we need to progress. I think it's important, considering we don't have European football, that these cup games can be used to continue to build momentum. And winning the League Cup is something that Pep Guardiola often targets to give kind of his team a bit of a morale springboard around that March-April period towards the end of the season. And there's no reason why Arsenal couldn't do that either this year. We've shown that under Arteta we can win cup competitions, that we're quite good in cup competitions, bar Europe. Then we can push through those rounds. So I want to see Balogun get those opportunities in the team. I'd love to see him get a chance. I think Nketiah will still start the game because Arteta seems quite loyal to him in that fact. But
really?
Yeah, I think he'll play. But I mean, there's a chance that Balogun could play off of Nketiah. He has been playing off of Mika Biref in the under-23s, slightly left of centre. So we could see Balogun play slightly left of centre for the senior side. But yeah, the others are like Patino, Salah-Ad-Din, Omar Rekic as well has been training ahead of this game. Go on, Mo.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of the under-23s, Balogun has been absolutely, more than ever, in my opinion, really displaying that he's just too good for that level this season. It's been ridiculous at times what he's doing to opposition. He needs a loan move, or he needs to be around the first team, because I feel like it's too easy for him that.
It's top scorer at the moment.
At that level.
Yeah, he's strangely in that sort of zone right now where he is too good for the under-23. He's not quite ready for the Premier League. He seems to, looking at the under-23 games, it seems like he's used to bullying a lot of these players now. He's physically immense in the under-23.
You see the twist and nutmeg that he did on the Southampton players?
Yeah, there was 2 players around him, wasn't it? He held one of them off just absolutely ridiculous. However, I think maybe a spell in the Championship will toughen him up a little bit more for the Premier League. I really do. And maybe he needs to understand that he might be able to get away with these things in the under-23s, but it's a different kettle of fish in the in the men's league, in the fully grown men.
Saint-Etienne are also interested, and I wouldn't mind that as a move. Ligue 1 is very physical. And whilst I know a lot of people have their reservations about the French league for its quality, he would start for Saint-Etienne with Wabi Kazri as well in that side. And I think that you would add a lot to his game. Saliba has flourished at Marseille this season playing in France. And I think that there's all the chances that following Balogun could do with an experience like that out of his comfort zone, get some, top 5 leagues in Europe experience and play that. Saint-Etienne are in a relegation battle, and he would play, and he would be, the pressure would be on him to score goals for them. So I think it would be a good experience. But if he does move to the Championship, and I think the clubs that are interested are Millwall, Swansea, Middlesbrough, and there is one other as well, I think. So, but I think there's interest there's double digits of the clubs that have already inquired about him. So without a doubt, he'll be going in January.
Yeah, and I think Balogun on the loan, even Premier League experience, Norwich have scored 8 goals in 17 games this season. The next lowest scoring team in the Premier League have got 14 goals. There's a huge issue at Norwich in terms of just running the back of the net. And, I think if they were to want someone like Balogun, and I don't see it that unrealistic, they might take a gamble on someone, could well be Balogun. I definitely want him to go out there and see what he can do and prove himself. Because let's remember this as well, there's a lot of players, as in our attacking options might look very, very different next year. Lacazette contract, Aubameyang problems, Pepe seems to be out of favour, and Nketiah contract. So actually, it could be complete change. So I'd like to prime Balogun, so at least we can look at him externally and say, actually, can he be a solution, or do we just need to go out and get someone?
The problem with Norwich would be, sorry, Lev.
No, go on.
The only problem I would say with Norwich, and the reason why they've scored so few goals, I think Pukki is a very decent striker, and like, you give him a chance, he'll score.
And he sounds like a Pokemon as well.
Of course. But you've got that level of concern that if you loan Balogun to, say, Norwich, he's just not going to get enough opportunities to be in the right position. So that's why I lean towards maybe Championship or Liga.
Yeah, sure. But, I still think it will be a real lesson for him in terms of, not so much the clinical thing, but I feel like that bit, I know games are different. You can do your shooting drills. I'm talking about being up against it, learning that team ethic, because especially to come into a Mikel Arteta team, it's not just about, look what Lacazette does. He's not clinical. We saw against Leeds, chance in the 3rd minute, missed it. He doesn't actually get that many shots off, that sort of thing, but he does such a good team effort. I think I've seen enough of Balogun to know he's fine in front of goal, but I want him to toughen up, to get a bit of that hold-up play, to do all the other stuff that you're really going to have to do when you're scrapping at the bottom of the table. So I think it could be really beneficial for him.
No, I agree. I would love to see him either in one of those sort of teams or in the, as I say, Championship. I know it would be nice to send him out to France as well. I don't have a problem with that. However, I just think he'd benefit a little bit more from the Championship, and just, it's not too dissimilar to Ligue, but at the same time, it's still here playing in a familiar environment. I just like the idea of it, really do. But there you go. Hopefully we'll do something with him. And Mo's right in the sense that the one area we could talk about as well. Now we're talking about Balogun is the striker situation, because right now there is the Aubameyang vacancy. If we don't solve that, do you see us doing anything about it? I mean, let's be honest, we don't know what's happening with that situation. We don't know how serious it is. If he does go to AFCON, do you see us just hanging out and holding on to the likes of Lacazette and trying to get through with him and maybe try Martinelli down the middle? Or do you think there's going to be some activity in January and maybe perhaps in midfield as well? Tom?
Yeah, I think that we will sign that. The long-term striker replacement will come in the summer. That's kind of where my head's at. But I do feel like the club, and Edu in particular, if an opportunity presents itself for possibly a loan deal for someone that could, we could bring in and help us, I think that he has shown with the signings of Matt Ryan and Ødegaard, of course, we brought in January, that they are willing to bring in some players like that of that caliber. So maybe someone like a Luka Jovic at Real Madrid, who is not really playing too much at the moment and has scored regularly during his time at Frankfurt, less so at Real Madrid. The expectation, the level is so much higher. And of course, he's competing with Benzema, who since Ronaldo's left has become one of the best strikers in the world. Always was, but since Ronaldo's gone, has been able to express himself.
He's been unreal. He's been unreal these last couple of seasons.
Ridiculous,
unbelievable.
Player, yeah, absolutely so. And there's a reason why he's been obviously drafted back into the French side because of it. So I think that if say an option like that for a player who we know can score goals in both Europe and in the Bundesliga, like a Luka Jovic, could be brought in for say 6 months, that wouldn't be a high risk loan deal. I'm not saying we have to invest in them, just bring them in on loan, and that's something. But yeah, I feel like Aubameyang's future will certainly influence that 6-month decision. And the biggest thing is, and we always come back to this conversation, and we discussed it before with the whole Newcastle thing we went through previously, but it's who's going to take that punt on Aubameyang in January? Is someone actually going to come in for him? And Barca, as I say, and Juve are linked, but I'm just not sure whether that will materialise into something genuine.
There's a huge salary that they've got to pay. Mo, do you think there's any chance at all of them moving Aubameyang in January? I mean, we were discussing this on another show with Shaheen. I mean, someone like Vlahovic, for example, he might command 150 grand, something like that a week. Let's be honest. Could we not offer? Wouldn't Fiorentina be looking for a replacement if we were getting someone like Vlahovic? Is there not a chance we could use him as a make weight, or do you think we should hold on to him and wait?
But I just think would Aubameyang agree to go to Fiorentina to use as a makeshift there? Like someone like Vlahovic, great. I don't think anyone would complain from Arsenal's point of view. But I can't imagine Aubameyang going there. And the other thing that I would say is that I'm going to ask you guys a question. Given Aubameyang's age, his recent form, and the fact that everyone, the whole world knows he's completely out of favour, and by the time the transfer window comes around, hasn't played for a month, what does that put his transfer fee at? And the wages that he's on. Bear that in mind. Give me a number.
I feel like they genuinely would accept close to zero. For
zero?
I feel like they would, but I'm not saying that's what he's worth. I'm just saying
they'd be happy to get him off the wage bill.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if a club came in and said, "Look, we'll take him off your hands, and we'll pay his wages, and and maybe Arsenal will look to use him in some kind of bit part deal somewhere else." I mean, Juventus as one team that are interested. We've been linked to Kulusevski, the Swedish international, been linked to Artur, the Brazilian midfielder. If maybe Arsenal could work,
and even Ramsey as well,
yeah,
right?
Of course. I mean, Juve need a striker. They need goals this season. They're really lacking after Ronaldo left. And then you got Barcelona, and you look at Barcelona, you're thinking, who would you take from them? People said Frankie de Jong, but I think he's unsettled, but I'm not sure that they would be looking to part with him still. There are other players like Sergino Dest that's there. Maybe you would look at him as a possible option to support Tomiyasu, but it's tricky.
But Tom, I agree with you. I think I've spoken to a few people about this, and the answers range from what you've said, like basically close to zero, which is what I think, like basically 5-10 million, or potentially even zero, up to people saying like 25 million. And I think like really the true benefit of getting Aubameyang out is not in the transfer fee; it's in the 250 to 375,000, depending on what figures given, including bonuses, excluding bonuses, all that stuff per week that we're paying for him. It's an absolute drain on us right now. And I think to myself, the only two teams I can actually imagine going for him are Barcelona and Newcastle, in all honesty, because why would he go to Barcelona? Huge amount of prestige and almost like who cares? I've gone from Arsenal to Barcelona. And, Barcelona are currently 3 points off of top 4 in La Liga. So the carrot for them to get someone now that Aguero is obviously no longer part of their plans is huge. And I actually think Aubameyang might turn around and say, yeah, I'll take a pay cut to go there.
Can they afford him, Mo? They're financially screwed, aren't they?
Just on that, there is a bit of a myth about that situation. That Barcelona are affected financially at the moment by what's going on, but they aren't as described as broke right now. If they're able, because obviously Aguero was on a lot of wages at Barcelona, and that situation ending has definitely opened up the opportunity for them to go and bring someone in. So Aubameyang's wages are, and I mean, they've had a lot of players take pay cuts recently as well, PK being one. Griezmann took one before he went back to Atletico Madrid. They have had a lot of players reduce their wage at the club. So there is wiggle room for Barcelona. So when you see kind of comments flying out saying Barca have no money, that's not true. They do have some wiggle room. So Mo is right to suggest that Barca.
Yeah, and you've obviously given more context than what I was aware of there. But for me, it was just a like for like. Aguero's no longer there. So you fill in that Aguero-shaped hole with Aubameyang. So I think that could be one. And then also, I think the only other team I can imagine is Newcastle, because let's face it, Newcastle are facing relegation. And can you imagine, like people talk about who's the first big name signing Newcastle are going to be able to pull off? Well, in January, they desperately need someone to fire them to safety. And you're not going to get better than Aubameyang. And they will have to throw a hell of a lot of money at him. But they're the only two things realistically that I can think of. So, look, if Aubameyang goes, fine. As far as I'm concerned.
There is one block on Barca because of the Ferran Torres situation that's going on at the moment. But obviously, that kind of in itself proves that Barca have money. 40 to 50 million quid they're talking about. So.
There's a lot of players that Newcastle could come. As someone rightly said in here, they can come for Aubameyang, they can come for Pepe, they can come for Kolasinac, they can come for Holding, they can come for Chambers. Like, we've got loads of players for them if they want them. We've got loads of dead wood. But I mean, the problem is, if we did get rid of Aubameyang, we would surely need someone coming in the other way, because just to rely on Lacazette for the rest of the season, it's impossible, right? I mean, you'd be tiring him out, wouldn't you?
Go on, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, but the point is, we still do have Pepe. I don't know how.
Would you try Pepe up front, Mo? We've been talking about that.
He did play up front for Lille, and I feel like, look, if Arsenal are seriously have got ambitions of top four and achieving something this season, winning a trophy, you probably don't try and do that conversion with a player that's not on the best form at this stage of the season. I feel like that's more of a long-term process and outside of the pressure of the business end of the season. You've got Balogun. Again, can you rely on him for the business end? Probably not. So, yeah, fair enough. We may well have to go and get someone. And I thought Tom made a great point in terms of a loan deal. When you look at who's out there, I mean, Vlahovic, I doubt we're going to get in January, but I just want to say this out loud. He scored more goals, I think, in Serie A than Salah has in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's just broken Ronaldo's record as well in Serie A. So
yeah, I mean, it's just crazy, absolutely crazy how well he's doing out there. And I think the Salah comparison really puts into perspective. I'm not saying that he's playing better than Salah, but I'm talking about just in terms of goals. There's also Patrick Schick for Bayer Leverkusen, who's having a stunning season. You know, just non-stop goals for him as well. And it's in a league, the German league, which is not one to turn your nose up at. And you know, I think he scored more goals than Haaland, not as many as Lewandowski. Lewandowski was obviously playing for Bayern Munich as well in that league, but they're both having brilliant seasons. So, you know, maybe something could be done out there. But it's very, very difficult. Luka Jovic, as Tom said, that didn't come to my mind. But yeah, you know, he's not exactly in favour there. So perhaps something like that. There's going to have to be an interesting chess move on behalf of Arsenal to fill in that Aubameyang hole if he does go.
Oh, I mean, would you consider Zapata for a season or two? Someone like him? Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Atalanta would be hard pressed to let him go. There are options. It's just about we have to play this right. If we invest in someone now, that could affect who we're able to get in the summer, because obviously then you start to stack up the players in that role. There is an argument that Lacazette leaving, Aubameyang leaving could open that up, but we don't know what's going to happen with Aubameyang until something happens. He's still got an 18-month contract. He may not leave now. He may not leave in the summer. We'll have to wait and see. So I just don't want to make the kind of Willian, Cedric kind of mistake on a player and put someone on a contract for 18 months and then be tied to that player when they might not necessarily. I'm not saying Zapata is on their kind of level of quality. I'm just saying I'm cautious of that kind of. I want to bring in someone who's going to be hungry, someone who's got a point to prove, and I think that's why I said Luka Jovic, because he will have a point to prove in those 6 months. Because I saw a couple of people say he's terrible in the chat. He's not. You've not watched him at Real Madrid. He's not been given the opportunities. At Frankfurt, he was absolutely lethal at such a young age, and he still is only 23, 24 years of age, and he will improve. He's good in the air as well. I mean, ironically, something that we do lack. He's not the tallest, but if the ball comes to him in the box, in the air, he has got that aerial ability. So we need to find someone who's hungry and someone who's going to be available, and they're two difficult things to find.
Oh, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's another one that keeps getting mentioned. Would you?
I would take it, but I don't think you'll get him in January.
Sorry, Mo.
Do me a favour. Max the Swag Kid 99 said, Mo, you just say controversial things for clicks.
Oh, do you know what? I was going to say, right, these last 10, 15 minutes, you want to throw in your questions. It's open season, yeah? But I think he said something. He said, I think he said something else I was going to bring up as well, Mo.
What did I say that was controversial?
Well, was he also the same guy that said, now that you're not AFTV, you have no career, ha, 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 like it was your career? I think it might have been.
I didn't see that comment.
Okay, well, here we go then. This is Max the Swag Kid 99 at Mo Hyder. You just say controversial things for clicks. It's not a question, but you wanted it, Mo. There you go.
Well, no, I just want to know, what did I say that was controversial? I'm baffled. I'm actually baffled. Any ideas, Tom?
I don't think you've.
Could it be this for the same guy? Are you actually comparing Vlahovic to Mo Salah?
No, but I literally said no. I literally said just looking at goals.
Yeah.
Just to emphasize how many times Vlahovic was in the right place at the right time.
It was him, Mo. There you go. Look. Max the Swag Kid 99. Without AFT, apparently you would have no career, Mo. So AFT taught you how to be an accountant. There you go.
It was AFTV where I passed my professional accounting exam. So.
It's so funny. People see you on a podcast, think it's your career. Go on.
Read John's message in the chat. John Mavrudis in the chat.
What, this one here? John Mavrudis.
What's it hello to everyone? Click back.
Exactly that.
How dare you? How dare you? Well, so if you've got any questions for us, chuck them in now. I'm just going through the chats to see if anyone else has got anything interesting. just because he's KC's son. There's no actual real questions in here, guys. Look, you want to ask questions? Would you look at Johnny Boy asked, would you get Tyrese Campbell from Stoke? Tom?
Oh, Kevin Campbell's son. Yeah.
Hey, look, Tyrese is doing great. He's only just come
Careful
back.
where you answer this.
He's
Kev's
only just come
watching.
back from a long injury, to be fair. So he needs to get back on track. But look, he's got a lot of talent, and I'm not only saying that because he's our boy Kev's son, but he's got a lot of talent. And he's got a long career ahead of him. So fingers crossed he returns from this injury really well.
If he's good enough to make that step up to that level, I'm sure Kevin will be on the phone to him, telling him exactly where to go. Dean Mobley, would Jonathan David of Lille be worth looking at? He's young, fast, scores a lot of goals. Plus, we have a good relationship with Lille. Obviously, I don't know how you found that out, Mo.
Yeah, he has been doing all right, actually, Jonathan David. It's not. I don't watch.
We've been linked with him.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't watch enough of the French league. You know, for me, honestly, when it comes to the French league, I'm watching Messi, and that's more or less just about it. But from statistically only, he's been having a very good season. But yeah, I still think still trying to figure out whether the last big money transfer from Lille was a good or a bad idea before we go and do another one. So yeah.
Is that why we've got a good relationship with them? Because we give them
loads of money.
They'll want to negotiate with us again. Is that the reason? I'm guessing. There's not anything else I can see in here. Is there anything else? Look, the Premier League's obviously been confirmed today. Good news. Premier League confirmed it's going to continue. FA Cup replays have been pulled as well. So it's just straight knockouts. Anything you guys want to bring up in the last sort of 5-10 minutes that I might have missed? Oh, here we go. Here's one.
Questions.
There you go. Spandan Konar. What do you think happens with Pepe? He asks. And should we add another winger in January, summer? Tom?
I think that Pepe will probably leave in the summer. I'd be surprised if he left in January. I'm not sure who's going to stump up that kind of figure that Arsenal would demand in the wages. But, I think he'll move on in the summer. I think there's reasons why we've been linked to the likes of Noah Lang and Kulusevski already, which kind of indicates they're looking at possibly replacing him. So, yeah, I think he'll go fairly soon.
There's a controversial chap here, Maximus Genitalia. Question. Do you genuinely think Arsenal will finish in the top 6? And if not, what happens to our world-class manager? World-class manager, he's asking. I'll let you answer that, Mo.
I think that if he doesn't get top 6, then for me, he needs to go. He should most certainly be getting top 6 this season. I'd also like to see him out of domestic cup, but I get that cups there's an element of luck. But, I think the question really should be, given what we're seeing from our competition, the question should be about top 4. But top 6 is what I said at the start of the season. So that's minimum expectation. And then next season, we're going to amp that up to top 4. So, yeah, less than top 6, he's got to go. I thought there was another really good question as well, asking about whether we need midfield reinforcements. Because I think there's a big question over Xhaka and Partey, who, in my opinion, the team have been playing really well in recent games. But have they really been at the level? Are they really a midfield that I feel other professionals come up against and think, God, they were tough to play against and they've really dominated us? I think there's a big question mark over our central midfielders.
There's another one. I'll give this one to Tom. Matthew De Souza asks, which areas of our first team can we ill afford to have a long-term injury in, Tom?
I mean, any of them, pretty much. I mean, the spine in particular.
It's going too well, so we've got to bring the tone down a little bit and get a bit more negative. Just,
I mean, you lose Ramsdale, you're stuck with Leno. That's a big one. You lose either of White or Gabriel, and you're going to Holding and Marie. That's a big step down. You lose one of Partey or Xhaka or Sambi, and you're down to El Neni or Maitland-Niles. And you lose any of Ødegaard, Martinelli, Saka, and Smith Rowe, and suddenly you're looking at your Pepes and you're looking into the other areas of the field and thinking, where are we going to find the depth that we need? So I mean, midfield, as Mo said, is certainly one that's kind of going under the radar a little bit with the amount of players that we've got. And I still find it staggering that Lukonga's not getting minutes right now. I find it mad. I know that obviously he's tested positive recently, but to not be involved in either of those games against Man United or Everton was ridiculous from my stand. I really did think that Arteta got that solidly wrong. So, yeah, any of those.
You think he got it wrong to drop him then, even though...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, you feel really strongly about that.
He was our best midfielder and Arteta dropped it. I don't get it. I really didn't understand it. I could not get...
There you go. BXLV, I think it is, asks, will Saliba be able to break the Gabriel White partnership? Mo?
Well, right now, why would you break it? It's going pretty well right now.
We did concede a hell of a lot of goals in the away games, 3 back-to-back. What was it? Liverpool, Man United, and who's the other one? We let in 9 goals in 3 games, didn't we? At one point away.
Man United and Everton.
Yeah.
But the thing is, as we've said, we need to fully understand whether there has been an improvement away from home, or I was saying you can't read into the Leeds game. By the time next season comes around, I expect we'll know whether Saliba's got a chance of breaking that up. But even away from home, I wonder, is it about the centre backs, or is it about the way the team is set up, or that mental block that might exist within the team? I think it'd be quite unfair to pin it on the centre backs. Individually, or as a pairing, I'm happy with Gabriel, and I'm happy with White, and I'm happy as them as our centre backs. But I think Saliba coming in goes back to Tom highlighting what happens if we have an injury to White or Gabriel, and then we're kind of in holding Mari or Chambers territory. So that's where I want Saliba to come in, and between the 3 of them, hopefully we'll be covered all season.
Right, yeah, we want that. We want that level of competition throughout the team that we have, maybe with Tierney and Tavares, and then now you've got, even Tomiyasu's got Cedric. Cedric's not awful, is he? He's a decent backup, and we've got options there. But we want that all around the team, don't we? So let's have a look. What else is being asked here? Someone's asked me. Guna Glenn was asking something, and there we go. Guna Glenn's asked, I'll put you this one, Tom. Would you give Wilshere a short-term contract to help us through the AFCON? So we're heading there, are we? We're going in that direction, are we?
But if it was a case of Wilshere or no one, and I mean no one, then
no one at all.
Then yes, I think obviously I would, because it's an extra, it's an extra body in midfield. People will say, well, you can promote Patino, you can promote Salah, you can promote Akinola, but it's an extra option. But that is it, and I'd rather we looked to bring in someone, and then there are options out there to look to bring in on short-term loans in midfield. So I don't know why we would need to, because there are players that we could go get.
Okay, fair enough. PMAV or PMAV, did any of you expect us to be where we are? Are we only there because Man United, Spurs, Leicester, etc. haven't been great? Well, that's a bit of a loaded question, but Mo?
No, I didn't expect us to be there, but it's a really strange question, because I felt like with the right manager, our squad was good enough to be asking that question about top 4. So Arteta, maybe he is proving that he can be the right manager, which is music to my ears. I've got my doubts about him, but keep it up, man. Let's get rid of all those doubts. So in a way, yes, I'm surprised, but that's because the bar was set so low in my mind.
Okay, no, I agree with you there. There's a super chat here from AFC Max. Yes, he's from Australia. Now I know it's Matt Ryan in the profile pic. Thank you for your support. Hey guys, top 4 feels so nice. 3 wins out of 3. 3 easy games coming up. Famous last words. Sunderland, Norwich, and Wolves. Slots of United, CFC, and Spuds are panicking on Twitter. Top 3 is on, and we got to keep going. Consistency is key. Love from Australia. Big up AFC Max. Thank you for that. He's very, very positive. It'll be like we as Arsenal fans right now, we could just be positive one week and then just like down the next. So it is a crazy time. We're sort of approaching that hour, so I'm going to sort of look to wrap it up. Thank you guys in the support in the chats. Anything you guys want to add before we go? Tom, anything I might have missed you wanting to bring up that I haven't discussed with you?
No, I just think that to be fair, I've just been keeping an eye on the chat box. I'm surprised.
Oh, not even listening to me, just keeping an eye on the chat box. Yeah,
I care about your community, man. That's all I'm saying. It's just, I'm surprised how many negative comments there still are. There's a lot of people still hung up.
All about Shaheen, though. Really,
there was a lot about Shaheen, of course.
There was at the start. It's been all right in the chats, to be honest. What negative things have stood out for you the most?
I find it strange how when we're doing well that there is still kind of the incessant need to try and put Arsenal down, which I find really odd. And I have noticed it on Twitter. I get that people's opinions they're very valuable to people, and being proven wrong is not very nice, and you don't like being admitting you're wrong. But admitting you're wrong is fine. I do it quite a lot because I'm.
Is there
not
anyone
right
in
about it.
particular you're talking to, Tom?
No, of course I wouldn't want to name names, Lev. I wouldn't want to do that. Yeah, I just enjoy Arsenal winning. Enjoy the fact that we're on the up. Enjoy the fact we're fourth, which we finished back-to-back 8 in the last 2 seasons. The fact we're sitting here in fourth is great. And yeah, there are teams with games in hand, but I'd rather have those points in the bag than we do. So let's get behind the Arsenal and I hope we can progress to the semis tomorrow.
Well said, Tom. Well said. Very, very positive. Mo, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd just say that, really do enjoy it when in the good spells, because there will be tougher spells. It's not just going to be plain sailing for Arsenal this season. Trust me on that. I'll tell you that right now for sure. That's the one thing I do know. So whilst it is going well, just enjoy it. I went up to Liverpool for the Liverpool game, went up to Liverpool for the Everton game. Horrible, miserable. I was at Leeds the other day, absolutely loved it. So I do cling on to the nice days with Arsenal that you can get, and hopefully we'll have a few more of them and eke some positive end to the season out. Fingers crossed, and let's enjoy it and as much as we can and stay together.
Absolutely. I mean, what is wrong with some of you guys in the chat? We have we've got 6 points in our last 2 games. We're far higher up the table than we imagined. Yes, it's been a bumpy ride. Yes, we've got some tough games ahead of us. Just because we're happy now, it doesn't mean we're deluded. But if we can't be happy when our team's winning, when can we be happy? I mean, what is the point? I mean, you just want us to sit here dreading what comes around the corner. The facts of the matter is we are currently far higher up the table than we ever expected, and we're in with a shout. So whilst we're in with a shout, I am not Arteta in, I'm not Arteta out, I am Arsenal in. That is it. Right?
Cliff has summed it up nicely in the chat, saying, enjoy the wins, people, but don't mug yourselves up. It's still early doors.
It's still early doors. Happy days. It is still early doors. We are Arsenal fans. We do know that it could change very quickly. We all have PTSD as fans. So don't think we're deluded. We're just enjoying having some positivity around us. So on that note, I'm going to say bye from myself. Bye to all the loungers. Thank you so much for your support. Tom, thanks again. Don't know what's happened to your white mic. I hope it returns very, very soon, mate. Is it feeling a bit down right now?
It literally is. It literally is. Yeah.
It needs to watch a couple of Pele adverts. I won't say which ones. And Mo, anything else you'd like to add? You want to say goodbye, yeah?
Let's just go and batter Sunderland tomorrow.
Let's go and batter Sunderland. So on that note, guys, we're out of here. I'm Levanja. This has been the Arsenal Lounge. Peace out.